Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and Abhi setting you free. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get involved.
Every week in AI, something insane happens.
And there's so much drama. Every Monday, we break it down live.
We do the news, we bring on guests, building in the space.
And we go deep into the stuff that actually matters.
Agents Hour, every Monday, noon Pacific.
Follow. Don't miss it. Peace.
This is Agents Hour with Shane Thomas and Abhi Aiyer.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Agents Hour. We're here. You might notice it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Abhi's been traveling, so we moved it back a day. And we're here like we are every week, though. Usually around noon Pacific time. And we talk about the news. We're bringing on some guests today to talk about some security incidents. We're going to talk with Dex from HumanLayer about looping and AI slop and a bunch of other things. So got a great show planned. But I'm Shane. I'm one of the co-founders of Mastra. I'm here with Abhi, one of the other co-founders of Mastra. What's up, dude?
What's up, dude?
How is the heat wave?
Oh, man. I am sweating my ass off here. So if you all didn't watch the last episode, I'm traveling in France right now. Last week, we were at VivaTech, which was a huge conference. And it was 35 degrees Celsius, which I didn't even know what that was. Now I'm very accustomed to that number. It's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit or more. It's so hot, dude. Even at nighttime, it's hot, and there's no air conditioning here, unless you're rich, I guess. But one day I guess I can afford air conditioning. It's wild.
Yeah, that is so. Not being from Europe, of course, it's so weird because it's so common in the United States, right? We just have air conditioning.
I have two kind of tweets that are really interesting. So, and this is not about AI, but kind of, I guess. The first one is from Patrick Collison, because he was also in France. Maybe he was there for VivaTech, I forget. And he started a whole discussion on why there isn't any air conditioning in Europe, or like specifically in France. And then there's a whole other thread. I'm not going to get into that, but he asked Claude about it. And apparently, it's just that there's no good reason, and cooling paradoxes and social rights to thermal comfort is not a thing. I thought that was really funny. But the second thing that was funny is this tweet, just so everyone can feel my pain. Today is going to be, in France, is hotter than 99.02% of the planet. And that is wild. And it includes parts of the Sahara Desert, the desert Southwest, and the Middle East.
So you're basically in the desert here.
Dude, seriously. I guess it's good for my pores, but I'm sweating my ass off, dude. It is hot as fuck.
So if we see you like wiping yourself with a towel throughout throughout the show today, we know why.
I'm just gonna be glistening the whole show.
Some people pay money to just have, just like you have a mister on you all the time, just have this nice
Exactly.
glow. this is a live show. So, people, if you say hi, like Galcado 6575 did on YouTube, we'll pull it in. We'll talk with you all. Good to see you. Thanks for watching the show. And before we jump into the first topic, which we do have a guest, we're going to be doing some security corner. If you haven't checked out the Mastra blog lately or been following us on Twitter, we're launching a lot. So in no particular order, some things we've announced in the last week. So we might have said this on the last show, but we introduced you can use Claude Code, Cursor, or Codex agents as first-party agents in Mastra Studio. We announced managed databases in Mastra Platform. We announced Mastra Harness. We announced auto deployments on Mastra Platform. We announced our CLI and how you can use that to interact with Mastra Studio or Mastra APIs. We announced deployable templates in Mastra Platform, and we announced task lists for Mastra agents. So a whole bunch of things. We got a whole bunch more coming. So we're always launching over here. So if you want to see what we've been doing, you can check out the blog on the Mastra site. We're also hiring. So go to the careers page if you're looking. I was told by by Margarita on our team that I have to say this on the live stream. I have to tell people that we are in fact hiring. So if you are interested,
If you want to work with us, go check it out. Mastra.ai/careers.
And now, one big thing did happen last week.
Yep.
North Korea happened, I guess. And so
Fucking North Korea happened.
We want to bring on and do a special edition security corner. We do take security obviously very seriously at Mastra, but shit happens. And, things happened last week. We want to talk about it. We want to talk about what we're seeing in the industry. And so for that, we're going to bring on our good friend, Ismail from Super Agent. So let's get Ismail on the show.
Hey guys.
Hey Ismail.
Oh, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's not as warm in Sweden as it is in Paris and other places. And we don't have any AC. We don't have any AC. I can tell you that as well.
So, yeah. Well, I feel lucky because I'm in a very cool basement right now. So I won't rub it in your face too much, but I'm glad you're here. I think, maybe the first thing is talk a little bit about what we experienced last week at Mastra. And then Ismail, I want you to chime in, seeing what what you saw from the outside, what you're seeing in the industry. So maybe to kick it off, and for those that weren't aware, we did have a supply chain attack on Mastra. It was pretty sophisticated, and the way that they got us, we can kind of talk through it, but it was, they got us. And it turns out from some investigations, it seems to be linked to some hackers in North Korea. And, don't know how that's verified, of course. It's all, I think there's some reason to believe it's true, though, because it kind of matches patterns from the Axios attack as well, which if you were paying attention, that happened, I don't know how long ago at this point, but it was a while back. So essentially, Abhi, feel free to jump in here.
Yeah.
But essentially how it happened is through some reasonably well-known person on LinkedIn got hacked, reached out to one of our engineers to meet to talk about AI engineering. Our engineers are generally helpful. We meet with users and customers and people that are kind of in the space. So they had a call with them. The call was a Microsoft Teams link, or what was perceived to be a Microsoft Teams link.
It was teams.lineapp.com.
So,
not a Microsoft Teams link.
So should have been caught, obviously. But when you click the link and it looks like Microsoft Teams, it feels like Microsoft Teams, it is the exact Microsoft Teams app you would normally go to for the most part. Besides the fact that it asks you to install something or download something, which, our engineer trying to get their audio to work, I'm sure that's part of the thing, right? Your audio's not working. Click this button, click the button, installed something on their machine, had access to some credentials, and then Abhi, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, so it had access to their NPM credentials. One big mistake we made, which is such a foot gun for us, is everyone on our NPM org, besides this person, had two-factor auth enabled. And so at first we thought everybody had two-factor auth. It was not a threat vector that we were thinking about, like how could they have done that? We almost thought that the person's Gmail got hacked. So the first thing we did, we wasted a lot of time before we got to the solution. What had happened was the attacker took control of the account. They used the npm token, which is very strong, the one that was on the machine, to change the email of the npm account. Then they proceeded to kick us all out of our packages, which we kind of were sweating bullets.
Which
right?
some of the packages, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Only the ones that there were only certain ones that were basically able to be kicked out of.
Yeah. And so we were sweating bullets, but then we realized we could just add ourselves back, which was good. So we got us all back in. We essentially deprecated all, well, we first unpublished any attacking package. NPM sucks, by the way, for trying to do this. There's not publisher friendly. We had to write scripts. We had to run them many times because you would your OTP would run out or you get rate limited. Especially when you're in a really trying time, that's not the time to have tools break on you. But the tools were shit in the first place. But I digress. So the attacker has the account. They publish a package called EasyDay.js, which unsuspectingly is like a Day.js clone that has a post-install script or some bullshit. I mean, Ismail will tell us more, I'm sure. So essentially, if you downloaded Mastra during this time, you would get a crypto wallet search and keys search, and you would just get hacked like that. We were able to mitigate everything pretty quickly. It took us a couple hours. Could have been faster if the tools were better. I'm just saying again. And then we were back and we published forward, healthy version, and then now we're back in business. We issued both a GitHub issue explaining what happened. We talked to every single paying customer that we have, every single champion or lover of Mastra. We were on the communication spree. Many thanks to Shane and Sam, like beasting on that. That was great. And then we started deciding, sorry if this is going too long. Then we started deciding like how the hell this happened. And you know, you have a lot of interactions, especially ones that don't seem off. Like social engineering is really good that way. And once we talked to this engineer in question, we were asking him like, hey, did anything weird happen in the last 3 weeks? And at first he was like, no, because it's like this kind of interaction is just so normal, like a failed Zoom call and those types of things you don't really remember. But then I really questioned, like, walk through the last couple of weeks, like walk through everything that's happened. And then we realized, no, you got socially engineered here because that is weird. You shouldn't be, you know, taking messages from Telegram. You shouldn't be going to weird non-Microsoft Live type things. And it could have happened to anyone. Definitely some members on our team also said, like, damn, like, I want to help people out all the time. I could have easily been got the same way. So we marked their computer as dead, cleared it out. We rolled both his personal stuff and his work stuff, and now that machine is good again, and he's back to business. And yeah, so that's what happened.
Yeah, Ismail,
that
what
is
do you want to jump
crazy.
in?
Yeah, the interesting part is that we had a discussion on Slack where this was just before the attack, I guess, where you guys had identified more or less like puned contributors trying to inject these crypto backdoors into PRs, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it might be a coincidence. I'm not sure, but I doubt that it is pure coincidence. You know,
Yeah.
Especially since both were like crypto. Like there's a crypto aspect to it, right? So I would think that, you know, from my point of view, what I saw that week was that, you know, you guys were out, you were celebrating, I think it was GitHub stars, and you were pushing a lot of stuff, you were getting a lot of views on like social media, etc., etc. And I think that that's, you know, that is also a part of it. Getting hacked, you know, you don't get hacked if you're not successful in any way, you know. You need to. So as soon as you show that success, you also become a target. So if I put like one and one together, what I see is like you start posting a bunch of stuff you're shipping, all of the success, all of that stuff. You get these backdoors in your PRs, which you're able to identify, and then this you know, phishing attempt happens, and probably that's, you know, the I would guess that this has, you know, he has been compromised. That individual was compromised maybe a couple of weeks back.
It was 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been
Yeah.
organizing it behind the scenes for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's very organized. That's the gist of what I'm trying to say. It's not just, hey, somebody, some random dude opened Claude Code with like Fable 5 and tried to you know, hack you. That's not how it usually works. And it's common, I would say, you know, the past couple of months, I don't know how many of these phishing attacks, of these supply chain attacks, which basically means, for anyone out there, that somebody gets a hold of a token and publishes more or less a lifecycle script in an npm package, like a post install, and then that runs some code that then compromises the whole system and, you know, extracts your environment variables and does a bunch of nasty stuff. So the hack itself is really simple to detect, and that's what's annoying with these package managers. You know, it's so easy to detect that, you know, a child could detect it. A simple run with like a, you know, 7 billion parameter model would detect it, you know, in a because it's only one file. You only need to check like the package JSON, more or less.
Yeah.
So it's really annoying that it's happening, but I think that, you know, I agree with Abhi that, you know, npm and these guys, they basically dropped the ball on security. I also think GitHub dropped the ball on security, in some sense. And but what I'm seeing right now is that they are starting to gradually, you know, accept that they have a role, that they need to play out that role, and that they need to make their software more, you know, friendly towards publishers, both from a like security perspective, but also from a developer experience perspective. So I'm seeing those trends, and but again, you know, it only takes, that's the nasty part with getting attacked. These attackers, they can, you know, put a lot of energy and they only need to hit right once. We as defenders, we don't have that luxury. We need to keep defending everything all of the time. So they are in a prime position, and they have a lot of leverage in that position, and they have all of the AIs in the world to help them, you know, achieve it. Creating phishing links, doing all of these sophisticated stuff, probing your, you know, internal stuff, probing your users,
Yeah,
all of that stuff.
Even the ability to create a Microsoft Teams like app that looks almost
Yeah.
identical to Teams, that would be kind of hard to
Yeah.
do in the past, right? There's a lot of at
Yeah.
least UI work that you would have to do. Now you can just one-shot that. You could
Yeah.
run
And
one-shot a roughly working Teams clone, and so it can make these phishing attacks so much more sophisticated and feeling more real than they were,
Yeah.
you know, previously.
Yeah, and I would guess, you know, because we took that PR that you guys had, I traced that, you know, that contributor back, and that person had made very similar PRs to a lot of other bigger open source projects. So I would suspect that those are also on the target list of these hackers. So if I was one of them, you know, I would start, you know, checking all of my CI/CD pipelines, like what can I even, because the problem is that, you know, this guy at your company, he's a trusted contributor. But what happens when a trusted contributor gets compromised? How does, you know, the CI/CD look when something is compromised? what does that hardening look like? I think people need to start thinking about that. You can't think that everybody, because they are contributors, that they are not puned or not
Yeah.
fished. You have to have that in mind. I would also start looking at, trying to detect these anomalies in my PRs and that kind of stuff as well, because that could be like more or less a type of probing that they do to understand how your CI/CD pipelines are set up, what they can do and what they can't do. So all of those signals, I think people should take very seriously. One last thing that I heard today was one of our vendors is open source, and they basically, this is the second time I've heard it now in a short period of time, where they're basically pulling the open source repository and making it private, more or less.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I mean, with all the, slop issues, slop PRs, plus real security issues, open source maintenance is, I think, harder now than it ever has been in the past.
Yeah, and I just also read. Let me share my screen. I read that IBM is doing 5 billion. They're dedicating 5 billion to redefine the future of open source in the AI era. So basically, Red Hat has been doing, this type of security for Linux for a very long time. But that hasn't trickled down into the regular like open source ecosystem, right? So I think there's a lot of things going on, and I think that if there isn't a organized attempt by larger players, but also smaller players and well-known maintainers with a lot of downloads, I think that there needs to be an organized attempt to harden the whole like supply chain, because one faulty chain and everybody are basically in danger. So that's something that I see as well a lot.
And I really don't think GitHub is being a good steward of NPM. Even support tickets that day, they answered 6 hours later. Like, how is that acceptable? Obviously, maybe we don't have SLAs with publishers, but if you're moving volume on downloads, you should have some type of SLA, because the whole, like, I don't know, it's not the whole internet, but a lot of dependents out there. There are a lot of people behind these packages or using these packages that are, they could get screwed. It's not just open API keys. There's other stuff that people got on their computers,
A lot of stuff, and one other thing, this EasyDay.js package, why is it still up? How can it still be up? It's been 2 weeks. That thing has been out there, on the registry for 2 weeks. How is that even possible? I don't understand. And they knew.
I reported it that day, and it's still up.
Yeah, it's still up. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And I think that it's not only, NPM. I don't want to trash them specifically. If you go to PYPI, it's the same thing. I reported a malicious package like 6 months ago, and I got a response 2 weeks ago. So it takes a lot of time. And I think it's a business model problem. I don't think they have a viable business model. So they don't put the effort, behind security.
I was just going to say, I think once you get to a certain threshold of downloads, and you would, I think about us, we would certainly pay for some power tools or some access to folks for, and I don't know how much that would be. I don't know what the business model should be, but it does feel like it's such a critical part. Even there's little things with NPM, even like NPM statistics. We do base a lot of, some of our metrics on how many people are downloading and using Mastra, and we get that through NPM stats, which are not reliable and they go down days on end sometimes. So it's like the infrastructure is not great. These package management solutions, I feel like they started out and provide a great resource. So I'm very thankful that they're there, but also because they're so well known and popular and used, I have high expectations, and that they don't meet those expectations.
I mean, NPM hasn't always been shit. There was some glory days, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just not today.
Yeah.
Also, look at this
today,
guy. So it's still up. It published 8 days ago. Makes sense. That was when the shit went down. The collaborator, this is our guy's hacked account. Like, this is the one that was, because he had to make a new NPM account because he couldn't get this back. this is the account they stole,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Sergey 2016, dude. If I could be Liam Neeson from Taken and find you, bro, that'd be so interesting. And then look how they make it look so legit. Like they steal all this, so you're
sponsors.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, in even the version number, it's not like 0.0.1. It's like looks like it's been around for a while. They got docs in different languages. I mean, they just stole everything from Day
and you know, the weird part is that if you scroll down, there's a button. It's called like Analyze with Socket. Socket already has this flagged, you know?
Yeah.
Why not just show that this thing is flagged? That's the least you can do if you already have that Socket button, you know?
Yep.
On the so it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I know. I would just say one thing. The reason we did find out about it is because of tools like Socket. I don't remember the exact vendor, but that run periodic scans. Like that's how I was informed about it. I saw it on X an hour after it happened. So there was like tools that caught it really quickly, and then it was late at night for us in the U.S. time zone. Abhi, you were sleeping at the time in France, and so we rallied the team. We were acting as quick as we could. So those types of notification systems are super valuable for open source. So we're very thankful for teams that run those scans and, do kind of publish when things happen, because that helps people able to react much more quickly.
Dude, when I woke up that day, like I woke up like, like when you wake up sometimes you like jolt up. I woke up like that and I was like, something's wrong. I can just feel it. And I go to my phone and then Shane's like, we got fucked. I was like, fuck.
That's crazy. One thing I have to say though, I was reading X that day and I saw you guys posting. I saw a lot of other people posting. One thing that I saw was that so all of the security companies, they sell the main selling point is fear. You are afraid of getting hacked, right? So as soon as someone gets hacked, they take that and they amplify that in order to try to get more sales. And I understand that. That's just business, right? So I understand why they're doing it. But what I saw, even from some of these scanners, I don't want to mention any names, but what I saw was just pure misinformation. What happened, how it happened, who was it that got puned or whatever, right?
And an old account that wasn't active. No, this guy's on our team today. He shipped code today, It's like this is a very active contributor.
Exactly. And so I feel like, and I've heard this from other maintainers, that they sometimes feel screwed by these scanners, because the scanners pick it up, they post it, that's all fine, right? But that creates a lot of stress and a lot of bad will for a maintainer that might be doing it, as a hobby thing on the evenings or whatever, right? So I feel like that could be done much more smoother than it is done today. But I get that people want to sell. I get that.
Those scanners could have just asked us, and we could have clear, and then sure, post about it. It's fine. It's like that's part of the job. You want people to have these scanners and these tools in place. But yeah. All right, Ismail, we appreciate you coming on for Security Corner.
One last plug for Ismail, and then we'll let him go. Sorry. Because we had these fishy PRs, we're using Super Agent now. And I'm just going to plug Super Agent for a sec. I was working on a PR today, and I introduced some vulnerabilities or like something that's not secure. Super Agent had my back, P2 and a P1 up here, which is dope. No offense to CodeRabbit, they're the homies, but Super Agent is very much like honed in on these aspects of the code base, so you should give them a try.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Nice to be on, and hopefully I'll be on the next time without you guys being hacked. Somebody else getting hacked.
Next time we're going to be talking about someone else but ourselves.
Exactly.
Thanks, Ismail. Thanks for coming
thanks for all the
on.
help.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
thank you, guys.
Throughout the incident.
Bye.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye. My pleasure.
Dude, did you subscribe?
Dude, I host the show. Did you subscribe?
Did you subscribe?
Subscribe to Agents Hour every Monday, noon Pacific.
Agents Hour, here to stay. Tune in Monday. make your day. From the news to the problem solved, AI will get involved.
You're muted, bro.
Every time. Jan, cut that last part where I was looked like I was talking. The good thing is I get to do it again.
Yeah.
We're gonna move right on to the next segment of the show, to the next guest. We're gonna bring on Dex from HumanLayer.
What's up, guys?
What's up,
Dex. All right, so before you start, let me do a quick introduction. So we met Dex when we were in YC, and you were obviously you throw a lot of events in SF. We attended a lot of events that you were part of. You're kind of a big part of, I guess, really promoting a lot of different ideas around AI, and it feels like you're always a few months ahead of, not always, but often a few months ahead of general consensus. So if you've been watching the show for a while, you've probably seen a few, we show a few tweets here and there from Dex, when we think he's onto something. So I'm excited that you're finally on the show.
Sorry about that, for the record.
And I think the best thing to do, and I didn't tell you this, so it's going to be a surprise. The best thing to do is you have a video. You just launched something. So I want to show the video, because I can't introduce you better than the video does. And then we can go on all the other stuff, and we can talk about the video. We can talk about HumanLayer. We can talk about all that. Is that cool? All right.
Sounds great. I've watched it more times than I would be embarrassed to admit the number of times I've watched it. But every time I pull up Twitter, it's somebody talking about it, so it auto plays. Yeah, let's do it.
Now you get to see it again.
We need to talk about AI code slop.
Code bases are falling apart faster than they ever have before.
With AI, your code kind of gets worse over time pretty materially.
If you keep writing slop, you're going to keep a roadblock. More volume of code being written, more commits, more stuff being pushed.
Basically, we're in an asymmetric war in slop.
It leads to slop, and it's not. It's slop.
Yeah, it's slop. Coding without really looking at the code and understanding it, it doesn't really work.
Slow the fuck down. Everything's broken.
AI slop. Slop and garbage.
AI slop.
Slop. Slop. Slop.
Hi, I'm Dexter Horthy, CEO and co-founder of HumanLayer. And in the past year, we've been performing a study into the world of AI coding slop. Today, we are opening access to HumanLayer, an AI IDE, collaboration platform, and building blocks for your software factory. HumanLayer enables engineers solving hard problems in complex code bases to move 2 to 3 times faster across the entire SDLC. You see, at HumanLayer, we've discovered a novel solution to the slop code problem that involves thinking about systems before setting your agent loose. And great engineering teams have actually been doing design reviews for decades. But for a lot of teams, this process is fragmented and manual, stuck in a pre-AI world. We're bringing this missing piece of the software factory, high-level design discussions, to every team. And the results have been incredible. Hundreds of engineers at companies of all sizes are already using HumanLayer to ship faster without sacrificing quality. I'm super excited to invite you to try HumanLayer today at humanlayer.com. And I'm even more excited to see what you build.
HumanLayer is not for everyone. Do not use if you are allergic to reasoning about complex systems. Side effects may include shipping reliable code, clean architecture, and maintainable systems. Stop use and ask a doctor immediately if you see signs of embarrassing your coworkers with how much you're shipping.
Let's make this the year of no more slop.
All right. Yeah, it's a great video.
Not watch me cringing through the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's always one of those things, you looked at it so many times, and now you're forced to watch it again, and you see all the things you'd probably, not want to see or want to change. But we need to talk about slop. We need to talk about HumanLayer. We need to talk about looping. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about. Where do you want to start, dude?
Oh man. So I don't know. I'm putting together slides for my World's Fair talk, and I think like the thing that I think I've always stood for and always wanted to stand for is like cutting through the hype and there's so much noise around AI of all these things that you should be doing, and everyone's trying to give you FOMO, and it's unclear if it's like insecurity or engagement bait or just people are just like a misled or misguided. But I try to do my best to give people real practical things that actually work, that we've seen work with customers, that we've seen work with users, that I've learned from other people who are way smarter than me, and make that accessible to everybody and level everybody up. Part of that is, I think one of the most important things is like, we need to identify and defend like terms that are useful. I think we've seen year after year in AI, like useful terms become completely diffused as they like get picked up by the hype train. So we had the word agent, which now means 100 different things to 100 different people. We had the word spec-driven dev that means now 100 different things to 100 different people. We have harness engineering, which was never well defined from the start, because you have kind of like the inner harness that the labs build or the agent builders build, and then you have the outer harness that you engineer, that is like the feedback loops from that like starts to become part of your software factory. So yeah, and then the third thing is like I want to give people useful stuff that they can go turn around and use and apply in their daily work, and that will actually work. And like, let's go, like, you don't need to be able to do reinforcement learning to understand enough about how coding models are trained to apply that knowledge to how you use them. Like I went super deep in the last 2 weeks of like understanding how all this stuff works and how models are trained and how all these coding benchmarks work. And like, I have an undergrad in physics. I am not an AI PhD. Like half the math, I was like sitting there talking to Claude for 10 minutes being like, no, explain this equation to me like I'm a dumbass. So I don't know. That's kind of like what we could set the table on. We could talk about software factories. We could talk about loops. What's most interesting to you guys?
Well, I know the thing that has been coming up more and more, and you mentioned it in the video, it's the two terms that I hear frequently from users of Mastra, from people that are building, writing code, developing code, especially building agents, is I want to build a software factory, or I need to automate my SDLC. They mean roughly, similar things, but people determine like, some people don't want to say software factory. They think that's cringy. Some people want to say like improve or automate SDLC. But tell us what your experience has been with that. Happy to share what we're seeing, but would love to know,
because that's the next word that's going to get destroyed. Because it's being used a lot.
Yeah, software factory is definitely.
It's already happening. It's almost too late.
There's no going back.
I'm gonna share in the chat a whiteboard link. Are you guys down to?
Or you can just share a screen if you want. Should be.
Yeah, I will. I will share it, but I'll give it to you guys in case you want to scribble all over my drawings.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've had software factories actually since like, I think it was like 1968. There was some NATO thing that defined like, okay, it's not just writing the code, but it's like this thing that builds the thing that builds the thing. What's up, Abhi? How you doing? And I think like the simplest software factory, and we can start like pre-AI, is you have like stuff to do. This is your like linear, your Jira, your state machine, your issue tracker, whatever it is. You need some kind of thing that like tracks the work. And into this goes input from engineers, from PMs, from like, your CEO / vision for the company, whatever it is. You put it in this list of things. And then maybe you might have some like human process, like you have a, architecture planning. And maybe you have like a sprint planning. I mean, this is like, I always think of like, okay, what do we do with AI and how do we map it onto the meetings that make engineers miserable? And how do we get AI to help with those things? But then you have some step where like someone builds the thing. And in here you might have, testing that happens locally. You may have like manual testing to like check if it works. Maybe in a browser. And then at some point you go and you create what we call a pull request, merge request, whatever it is. You want some human reviews the change. You probably have like a PM or a QA or an engineer. Some human actually like tests it. Someone else makes sure that it works and signs off on it or whatever. You obviously have a bunch of like CI/CD checks, like unit testing. You might have like static scanning, like security scanning, all this kind of stuff. Anything you can automate, etc. And then once all those things pass, then you put it in production, and then your users use it, and then the users talk to your talk to people at your company. You get support tickets, you get feature requests. If you're really fancy, you also have like monitoring. So if something crashes and you get an alert from Sentry, and that goes to your team as well, and then that becomes more stuff to do. This is like the most abstract software factory. Forget about AI. And then there's already loops in here, right? So this whole outer thing is a loop. Feedback, support. And then you have sort of like inner loops here, right? Like, okay, human reviews the change and doesn't like it. Okay, well, that's a loop. You give it back to the person who's building it, and you have them go make the change, and then they test it, and then they do the new pull request, and you run this whole thing again until it gets approved, right? Does it make sense so far?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm tracking.
Did I miss anything?
No.
I think you got it. You got the basics.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna take the most naive software factory. This is like when the ramp inspect thing came out in like November or December. Like the primary thing they had done was they removed this like someone builds the thing to like agent builds the thing. And this is pretty, there's a lot going on in this box because you have, you need orchestration to like kick this off and make it, when the work is ready to actually go like launch it, you need some kind of sandboxing to run the coding agent in. You need an inner harness, which is like your Claude Code or your Codex. You need an LLM, which is actually doing the coding. Maybe you need like feedback tools, like you need a VM to run it in. You need a browser, et cetera, right?
Yep.
And then the first thing that we brought in was agentic code review. Because the problem is like when you have agents building the thing, this step goes from 2 days to like 2 hours maybe, roughly. Let's say, or it goes from 2 hours to 2 minutes, let's say.
Yeah.
We'll do it that way. 2 hours goes down to like 2 minutes to do like a small change. And so you suddenly have changed your backlog of stuff to do into a backlog of things to review.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, cool. Can we do agentic code review?
Yeah, the bottleneck.
And then can we do... Yep. And if you're really fancy, you have agentic testing where you have like browser use pointed at your PR, or you have it happening here in your sandbox environment as well. Agentic, I'll call it manual testing because it's like black box from the outside, but it's technically done by a machine. And then humans can test. You might still do all these other things, right? You have humans testing the change. You might have humans reviewing the code, but they're like more confident, right? Because you've done more stuff to like raise the floor. You've gotten rid of most of the low-hanging things, and so maybe you're going faster through your pull requests. And then the next thing people tend to add is like some kind of like agentic feedback loop, where you actually like take these feedback and support, and rather than sending them to a human, you just put them straight in the tracker, and an agent picks them up and like starts working on them. And same thing for your like monitoring stuff. Instead of like going through users, you say, okay, cool, we got this error from Sentry. Let's have the agent take a crack at it with nobody like actually looking at it, and then see what comes out the other end. And even if the agent only one-shots like 30% of those, that's 30% of time we didn't even have to think about it. We just came to the PR and reviewed it. And this is where you start to build up your agentic software factory. So this is like loop number 2 is this like outer loop around the whole thing. Make sense?
Yeah.
Definitely.
What's also happened here is we probably like are getting rid of this stuff, right? A lot of people say like, we can just move so fast. We don't need to spend as much time. We don't need to spend 2 hours deciding how we're going to build this thing. We don't need to spend 2 hours breaking down the work. Agents can kind of just do this. So you drop this part, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, cool, everything we want to do, let's just go do it. I mean, how does your factory look? Like, what about how you guys ship today? I know, what do you have, like 30 engineers now? What about your process is different from this? What maps onto this?
It looks exactly like that.
You just drew it.
Yeah.
I mean the rough
We still
tenets of it.
we still do planning though, because I think if without it, that's where the poison starts leaking in.
And I think over time we've
What is the benefit of planning? Like,
go ahead.
Sorry, there's like a little bit of a delay, so if I interrupt you, I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, that's okay. Jan will cut all this out. The people that watch it live get to see the live version, and then we clean it up after the fact.
So we don't do sprint planning anymore. We do like goal planning, which is like what do we want to achieve, and people are working in their own armies of one, right? So they're with their agent, and they're just having human level goals. Like, I'm trying to achieve this shit by Friday. Then they get into the factory. But the architecture planning...
And is that a feature shipped?
So feature shipped,
Sorry,
or
is a goal a
milestone
feature shipped, or is it like a customer outcome? Can you measure it?
Yeah, so it's either feature shipped, milestone achieved, which could be something we agreed upon, customer impact achieved, things like that. And then
Okay,
the
cool.
architecture...
And you mentioned you still do the like architecture planning as well. Yeah.
We don't do a ceremony around it. We just expect that it happens. And when it doesn't happen, things go wrong.
Yeah,
for
I
the
would say
person
the number...
who skipped it, or for everybody else?
Everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah, I would say the ceremonies have decreased a bit. Less like ceremonial meetings, but still more. The planning still has to happen. Otherwise, and we have seen this. There have been different. We've dialed things up, turn things up, turn things back, as we've kind of realized that if you take your eye off the ball a little bit, as you said, like slop can start to fester, and then once it starts to fester, people know less about that area of the code base. It seems to grow.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. Do you guys review the code? Does every PR at least get a glance? How often do humans comment on PRs and actually change the like program design?
Quite often. So what would happen is, like, in things that were led astray from the beginning, where the context wasn't good, then people who know what to do come in, but they're not manually writing reviews. They're leveraging their context and their agent to do a specific review. This is outside of a CodeRabbit or a grep tile. Like, this is a human and their agent issuing the review.
Yeah, I would say like AI assisted human review.
Yeah. And these reviews, I would say, are a little brutal. Not brutal in the sense they're kind of mean when you get one of them. That means you fucked up.
And it's I know when I comment on your PR, I'm really just talking to your agent anyways, so I don't have to be nice in it, because you're just gonna paste it into Claude, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think the next definition that is worth looking at is like, what do we call like the lights off software factory, which is basically where you get rid of all of this, right? Yeah. You say, okay, we have CI/CD, we have agents testing it, and we have static scanning, and we have security checks. We're just going to stop reading the code. And humans are basically only going to interface at this level of like, we're going to decide what needs to be built. We may do a little bit of triage on user issues, but at the end of the day, like, it is a closed loop. When people complain, the stuff gets fixed and nobody has to think about it. It's an incredible dream. It's an incredible vision. And basically what we've found, we built this in like September of 2025. So almost 9 months ago. And what we found was, after about 3 to 6 months, which I think a lot of people find, is if you skip this review step, or you start half-assing your reviews and you're just like, yeah, this is sloppy, but we're just going to let the agent cook, like, your code base just goes to shit over time. And I'm not going to go into the details of like my thesis on the underlying mechanism, but like the TLDR is all of the ways that we benchmark models on coding. And as far as I can tell, I'm not, I don't have secret contacts inside the labs, but as far as I can tell, almost everything we do for agentic coding, let me see if I can find this. Sweetbench, multilingual, I'm sure you guys know this one. All of these problems are basically just like one-off fixes. And so here's our like correct patch for this.
And we still see your Excalibur.
So yeah, here's the problem statement.
We're seeing your Excalibur.
Oh no, share this tab instead. Here we
go.
There we go. Yeah, so here's Sweetbench multilingual. There's some problem statement, and there's like a golden patch, which is the right answer. And then there's like a patch to the test. So when the agent goes and makes the change, if it changed any test, we throw out the changes to the test. We put this patch into the test instead, and then we run it. And we run the like golden test against the agent's against the agent's change, and we see if it passed. And the problem is like what makes these good is they're all little like one shot, small, contained. If you can solve 1,000 of these versus 1,100, that's good signal that like that model might be a little bit better at coding than another model. But nowhere in here in the like verification loop are we able to punish the model for bad code design. Its only job is like, can you get the test to pass? And so when you do reinforcement learning, right? So you have a verifier, which is like, did the test pass? And you pass that in, and then the model has like, you have like a rollout, which is like a certain version. And then it goes and it like does a bunch of inference. It does like this long agentic trace.
Should go back to your Excalibur.
And then we go see, did it actually solve the challenge? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Did the test pass, and then we do a rollout, and then we do the inference of like, okay, we do this long like agentic trace. I don't know why these are all in dotted lines, but you have like a ton of like messages and tool calls and etc. I don't know how we draw context windows. We keep updating it. And actually, like Calvin French Owen has a really good. I'm gonna switch to one more tab, and I don't know how much time we got left, but I'm almost done with this rant.
We got a little time. We started a little late.
Okay. Yeah, this is a really good slide. So you have the agent go through and it like tries to do this thing a couple different times, and sometimes it does a search and npm test, and it's like, okay, if it's correct, we get a point. If it's concise, if it passed the test. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I said I was going to change the tab.
We got it. We're good. Let's do it.
Jan, good luck with this one, man.
Oh yeah. Jan will take care of it. He's got
it does a bunch of runs and like, amazing. So yeah, we do a bunch of runs and then it all gets like strung through, and then we like evaluate at the end. And you might just see, did the test pass? You might have other things like, was it correct? Was it concise? You penalize it for like running the test too many times, whatever it is. And then at the end of the run, then you like change the weights of like, okay, every decision that was made here, make that a little bit less likely. Every decision that was made in like the positive ones, make that a little bit more likely. The one that spent too much time, penalize it a little bit. And you do this over and over again for months and months and months on thousands and thousands of problems. And eventually you get out a model that's like better at coding. So the take is basically, if you build this lights off software factory, you don't have any training in the models that makes it better at like, because the penalty is just, did the test fail? There's no penalty for like, did an engineer working in this code base 6 months later find it incredibly hard to keep making changes to it, and every time you change something over here, it breaks something over there? That's kind of my like definition of bad code quality, and it's really, really hard to teach models how to like to penalize models for writing sloppy code in that dimension. So that's kind of our take, is like, don't sacrifice the architecture planning, don't sacrifice the sprint planning, and don't sacrifice the code review.
Yeah.
And basically like these three things together give you actually like a really good software factory, in the sense of like, okay, cool. I can either review this PR for 6 hours, version 1, and not do any of this, or I can like basically like look at the like think about how we're going to do it and align with a model on how we're going to do it, so that like we maximize the chance that this code review is only like 20 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is. And so it's all about leverage. Is if you can re-steer early in the process, before you've done all the building and sandboxing and testing and all this stuff, before the model's already committed to a direction, then you can increase the probability that when this PR comes out, it's 95%, 99% perfect. And that's what we're building at HumanLayer. It's like, how do we do this collaboratively on teams? How do we make sure that we can move a lot faster without sacrificing quality and without sacrificing like humans still owning the outcomes? That's it.
That's dope. I actually I quoted you during our all hands this week, and I just want to really resonated with it. If you feel like PR review, code review is the bottleneck in your system, figure out how to increase the odds that the code is 95% or 99% correct by the time it gets to review. That's classic line. I love it. Now, do you think that is that more so that we need to plan better, we need to architect and design better? That is the only way to get there, right?
I think so. I mean, obviously, like anything you can do with deterministic linters is great. Anything you can do with agentic code review is great. But I think if that's your only plan, then your code base is gonna devolve pretty materially over time. And as engineering teams, like this is why we have architecture and review and sprint planning is like, hey, let's align on how we're gonna do this before someone spends 6 hours writing the code. And yes, the code is cheaper now, but the review isn't cheaper. And so it's like, okay, cool. The more likely it's, people say they're drowning in PRs. The other bit I'd like to do is like, you're not really drowning in PRs. You're probably drowning in bad PRs, because even a PR that is like only needs 20% rework, like it's actually kind of close. And that's generous. If you just YOLO prompts to an AI, your PR is on average probably gonna need about 50% rework, depending on what you're building and how long it needs to last. And so it's like, okay, cool. So actually a perfect PR, or like a within 5% PR where you're just like, oh, can we like twiddle these variable names or whatever it is? It's actually not that bad. It's a joy to review a really good PR. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it just seems to me, especially, you mentioned the benchmarks. I feel like there needs to be like multi-step benchmarks that validate, the fifth or sixth task in a list that should be faster. And almost like if the model takes longer on that fifth task, it's probably because the first 4 tasks that might have passed, the code was shit, right? And so I feel like there needs to be these like longer horizon benchmarks.
Well, so we're
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're working on a benchmark harness. It's kind of based on Harbor, but it's a Harbor adapter where you actually like have a model. It doesn't know what the roadmap is in advance, and you've actually like stacked up about 20 feature requests for this product that is, it's not just like rebuild GitHub, because GitHub's really already in the weights and it can kind of guess what features are coming. But if you can pick something that's a little weird or off training set and have it basically build 20 features in a row, and one, penalize it if it fails on any incremental feature. But then also, if, let's say, an Opus grade model gets to issue 20, and then you hand issue 21 to Sonnet or even Haiku, and you see, can a smaller, dumber model solve an issue in the code base that this model has been like persistently working in? You get you get an amplification of signal of like how good is the code quality, because a smaller, dumber model is not going to be as adept at working in a messy code base.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, those are the types of things we need. And I feel like we're still, people are obviously thinking about it. I didn't know you were. That's good. But without that, I don't think the model weights are ever going to get improved to fix this problem of not slowly letting slop, creep in and kind of, because that's not the goal. The goal is, did the test pass? Did I complete the task as designed? Not did I introduce technical debt that is going to impact the team or other agents in the future.
Yep. So yeah, shameless plug. If you are interested in RLVR and working on models that are better at code quality, we are hiring. Founders at humanlayer.dev, shoot us a note. If you want to try our product, humanlayer.com, we have free for up to 3 people. So it's designed for small teams to kind of play with it. If you feel like you're shipping way faster, we have like larger, more sophisticated team plans. But this has been really fun, guys. Thanks for having me on. Any final questions?
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you spreading some wisdom, talking about software factories and the pros and the cons. I think a lot of people are interested in this and trying to figure out like how do we actually improve? How do we make our development teams or engineering teams better? And I think a lot of people are struggling because a lot of people have tried using code agents. They know they can write code faster, but they're struggling with over time. It feels like it's harder. I don't understand as much of the code base because so much more code is being generated. I can't keep up. So I feel less like I understand what is actually happening. It's harder to review PRs now because you have less context on the changes because you're not as close to maybe that everyone's running their own team of agents, right? So it's like you're reviewing PRs from a different team often, where it's not like you're on the team with the other engineer, you're reviewing another team's work. And so I think some of this stuff is becoming more challenging. And so always excited to see, it was excited when you launched, which was like last week. Excited to see that how you're trying to tackle the problem. I think it's an important problem to try to solve.
Nice. Yeah, this was super fun, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. We'll see you for beers when I get back.
All right. See you, Dex.
I can't wait. Good luck, guys. See ya.
Like, share, and subscribe.
And follow us on X.
And tell your friends.
And their friends.
I mean, we're not begging.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Subscribe to Agents Hour every Monday, noon Pacific. Nice.
All right. That's fun.
You want to see something funny before the news?
Yeah, let's see it.
So I tweeted this yesterday. I love my life, North Korea and all. And Grayson made me this picture. That's funny. All right, anyway.
And that's in your Slack. I saw that in your Slack photo.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it publicly because it's probably offensive, but I guess I already just showed it right now, so it's fine.
Yeah, I laughed. All right. It's that time. It's that time of week. We're going to talk about the news. There's drama. Let's get into it. All right, a little preview about some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Still tuning my agent to make these slides right. They're not right yet, but limited time. So we'll fix it. Make it better. This week's better than last week. Next week will be even better. So let's talk about some of the things that happened over the week. We talked last week a lot about Fable. So this post came in, said, this changes the Fable story completely. I don't know if this is actually confirmed. So, but we talked last week about how Amazon maybe reported that Fable could be jailbroken. And, according to this, on June 11th, Mythos breached classified systems of the NSA. So within a very short time frame, part of this tweet is cut off. So maybe that led to some of the decisions to pull Fable. There's a lot of speculation of whether it's political. Trump was on our interview talking about the decision and wanting to figure out a path to resolution. Who knows if it, how the things fall. I still think that there's a lot that's up in the air. I do also think that if you're Anthropic and you're saying that this is the most dangerous model, this can do so much, and that's the hype you're building around the model, then when you have some kind of incident, you shouldn't be surprised when the government wants to take action on that, when you've been trying to fear monger everyone into knowing, and maybe it's true, maybe this is true, but you shouldn't be surprised when that happens. Hopefully, it would be great to have a Fable level model back, but I don't think there's any kind of immediate timeline on what that might be before we get access to it again.
Yeah. The All In podcast had a really good discussion on this, like these details as well. And I think David Sachs really put it well. He was just like, you asked for it. You know, you've been telling everybody the way it is, or that it's the most like dangerous thing, and so you can't really fault anybody for acting on that information.
Yeah, if you say it's the biggest threat to national security, you're saying it's going to take everyone's jobs, and then you're saying that this model can do that, but the model we released has guardrails, but then someone else clearly shows, well, the guardrails can be broken. Then
Yep.
all the other stuff you said is still true. So I think hopefully we will. I suspect we're going to see maybe like you need to provide a ID in order to access these models or something, which then in that case, maybe Fable isn't available through the API or something. Like I don't know how you're going to validate the use of this and actually track it over time. And again, that would still be limited to people in the US, according to what the government originally said, which isn't great either for people outside that still want to have access to this level of intelligence. But in other news, Sam Altman announced and OpenAI announced that GPT 5.5 Cyber is here in its state-of-the-art performance on CyberGym, actually beating Mythos Preview. So I guess it, beat Fable, beat Mythos, Mythos is the underlying model without the guardrails. And so arguably we already have a cybersecurity model that, you could at least argue, according to benchmarks, is as good and is publicly available, right? Or is it actually been released? Or did they just announce it? I don't know if everyone has access. Yeah, I don't know if everyone has access to it yet. Some people do. So we will see how it gets rolled out.
We are not those people, but some people do.
But the the interesting thing is, it's not the only model. Other models are going to catch up. So it's not just that Mythos is this super sophisticated model, which it may be, but the other model companies are not that far behind, it seems. And OpenAI announced we're expanding OpenAI Daybreak to help democratize patching vulnerable software at machine speed. So Codex security plugin, the full version of GPT 5.5 Cyber model, and this was announced on June 22nd, so yesterday. We also started to get teasers that OpenAI is cooking up a new model. So there were some potential leaks yesterday that point to maybe a drop today, which didn't happen, and it seems like it's too late now. And we have some, next slide talks about that, but a larger context, or 1.5 million token context, major gains in long horizon coding, agentic workflows, faster codex responses, aggressive pricing to undercut Anthropic.
This is such an opportunity for OpenAI.
It is. I actually heard on a call this week with a customer that said, we want to use Anthropic, but the reliability, we can't ship it to prod. They point blank said, we need to be, and is one of the reasons for choosing Mastra is to be model agnostic for the things that they're doing. But that's challenging, right? If you can't believe that the reliability, and this is, not to say anything about the politics or the Fable, but if you can't be reliable to a level where you can throw production traffic at it, you have to have a backup fallback. And if you have to have a backup fallback, maybe you just go to that model as the primary model.
Yeah. We've had 4 partial outages on Claude API yesterday, today, and then last week as well. It's been kind of rough.
Yeah. So there is news, though. This came out earlier today. GPT 5.6 has been delayed and will no longer release this week. The new target is mid-July. So they really pushed it back a lot. So hard to know if they were planning this the whole time. Also, some other just interesting updates. Apparently, DeepMind is not satisfied with the current state of 3.5 Pro. And so it's not going to be planned on launching this month. And then apparently there's some other potential models coming out. But I think the GPT 5.6 being delayed, 3.5 Pro potentially being delayed means we might be a little ways away from getting models that maybe could push the limits of what Fable was at least alleging on benchmarks, right?
Yeah.
So it's coming, but apparently, teams are running into challenges. But let's talk about some open weight model that's making waves, GLM 5.2. And I think the overall initial reaction is a lot of people are excited.
It's dope, dude.
Yeah.
It's dope.
A lot of people are excited. So they announced it was announced last week, I think, towards the beginning of the week. And then, they have the weights that are open. You can see, the percentage score on agentic coding, the average tokens per task, and you can see where GLM 5.2 is versus 5.1. You can see where Opus 4.8, Opus 4.7. So you can see it's right very close to Opus 4.8 level intelligence, but a little bit less token usage on at least like the higher, the max level tasks, and the score is just a little bit lower. So very much we'll call it near Opus level.
Yeah. I've been using it pretty extensively. It's pretty slow on like the Z plan, but if you use it through Alibaba Cloud, it's pretty fast because they have infrastructure, of course. Comparing it, I guess we'll talk more about it, but my initial reaction is it's not as good as 4.8 Opus, and because with 4.8 Opus, you could like just coast a little bit on the loops. With the GLM, you still have to be in the loop for complex things. But it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the things that I've been hearing is, it's not going to be quite as good for the long horizon tasks, but it follows instructions really well. So if you know what you want and you are able to be on the loop a little bit, you can get what you want pretty quickly. So from Design Arena, this was last week, breaking GLM 5.2 is now first on Design Arena. It's now jumped ahead of the now unavailable Fable 5 and its open weights. So you can see it's ahead of Fable 5, ahead of Opus 4.8 on Design Arena. So this is a little bit anecdotal, but Klein ran a small benchmark on just one. I think it was just one problem, right? So it's hard to judge on a single problem, but GLM 5.2 beat Opus 4.8 on the same bug, same prompt, and it was much cheaper. It did use twice as many tokens apparently, but it was, because the tokens are so much cheaper, it was actually cheaper overall. Probably
it calls a lot of tools, is what I've noticed. So.
It's probably quite a bit slower too because of that, right? It's already a little bit slower probably per token, and so not as fast, but apparently, at least in this one instance, I've seen a lot of anecdotal evidence, and here's another one. So there's now 1-bit GLM 5.2, and this is comparing against Opus 4.8 and 5.5. So it gave 3 models the same prompt and compared one-shot outputs, and you can see it's pretty comparable. I think the GLM, the 1-bit GLM 5.2 is arguably just as good. Different styles, whatever, but
Ward is downloading this right now on his Mac Studio.
So you can run it on Mac Studio?
Yeah, we're gonna play with it next week.
Yeah, and so this is wild because this is the 1-bit model you can run locally on a Mac Studio M3 Ultra with 256 gigabytes of RAM, and that's what Ward on our team has. So he wants to run it. We'll see. I think it's a little slow.
It's gonna be slow. 21.6 tokens per second. That's not a metric that we're starting to look at. Like, we're starting to look at this metric, tokens per second, now as we get into different models with different hardware, because no one really was thinking about like how many tokens per second am I getting. But I know we're gonna add it to Mastra code, but like I foresee us like starting to care about that metric pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think it depends. I care less about tokens per second if it's a fire and forget task, right? Yeah. So like if I know I'm going to come back in an hour, if it takes an hour and 10 minutes or 50 minutes, it's not that big a deal. If it's something where I want to ride the actual loop itself and be very close to it, then faster is going to be a lot better. Because, in the world where imagine you have, 1,000 tokens per second, it can go about as fast as at some point it can go as fast as you can think, right? You can say what you need, and before you even can flip to the next tab in your browser, the next tab in your coding agent, it's going to be basically done. So you might as well just ride that same loop. And I think that is going to be a big unlock where you no longer have to multitask and try to keep, multiple loops going at the same time because you kick something off and you don't want to wait 2 minutes for it to finish. So you go do something else. It'll be nice if, as we continue to get models that are smaller, faster, we can eventually get to the point where you never have to leave the coding session you're on. You can stay on one loop. All right, cursor compile was, I think it was this week. Maybe it was, it was last week. So last week, cursor compile, they announced some things. One of the biggest things is a GitHub competitor. It's called Origin. It's called Origin. Going to be available this fall, so join the waitlist. But obviously, Cursor, the acquisition with SpaceX was officially approved. I think it was 60 billion was the amount. We talked about it on the show when it was announced. But after the SpaceX acquisition, it's now kind of been, I guess, ratified, so to speak. So Swix, of course, talked about this as well. It's Cursor's long-awaited Git competitor. Scalable for agent workloads, extensible with API and MCP, and built-in merge conflicts, and co-failure agent resolution. So this does pose the question of what does Git or GitHub look like if it's designed specifically for an agent or an AI-driven world where coding agents are writing 90% of the code, right? Or 95% of the code.
Yeah, and like if you were a Graphite user and like, we know Meryl, like that was always the goal, was to eventually destroy GitHub. And they have all the pieces. Now they have the capitalization to do it. I'm excited. They're cooking.
And so some highlights from the keynote. I actually watched a good chunk of this keynote. It was pretty good. I think if you're interested to see what they're doing, but they did announce a few different things during the keynote that I think is particularly interesting. And the biggest one, of course, we talked about it, like the code agent. They're also training their own frontier model. And they are also using in Cursor Mobile, you're going to be able to prompt agents, edit code, and remotely control your desktop cursor from your phone. So you can take it to Abhi, you can take it with you on the beach, for real now.
Yeah.
So I think those are the big three announcements. But yeah, exciting. I think Cursor, the acquisition to SpaceX was probably the best landing spot for it because it gives SpaceX something and XAI something they didn't have. It gives Cursor the actual cluster because this new model that they're talking about is going to be trained, of course, on Colossus. So they have access to, able to use Colossus to do this training so they can actually be more competitive. We'll see how their model stacks up. They're obviously they're kind of late entrants to the game, but they have a lot of data, right? They have a lot of people that have used Cursor, so they have a lot of coding data that they can train on. All right, so Vercel launched Eve, an agent framework. Any thoughts on this? I have a couple.
Oh yeah, the chance to play with it. It's really cool DX. Pretty simple to use.
Yeah,
cool.
It's got some magic bundling built in. It's really
I hate bundling.
What?
I hate bundling, but everything else is good.
Yeah, the bundling it's one of those things that is like a magic feature that, especially getting started, provides such like a silky smooth onboarding experience because you just drop a file in and it's just everything works, right?
Yeah.
And their CLI is pretty nice, so they did a nice job with that. It definitely, pushes you into the Vercel ecosystem early, right? It's like it's very much built towards Vercel infra. It kind of pushes you to use their gateway, pushes you to use, their sandboxes, all that. But overall, like pretty good DX, just as like get out of the box, getting started. I think some of the bundling magic, depending on what you're doing, might end up biting them. We'll see. Like maybe they can figure it out. But I think that'll be the thing I would watch for, is we'll see how that works out. But yeah, it was cool to see. And just shipped Flu 1.0 beta. So, Flu we've talked about, it was announced a while back, right?
Yeah.
But this is now, the 1.0 beta is here. And it's funny because this one says it's like Astro for agents. So, kind of revoking or like invoking the old like Astro versus Next.js, because Vercel says it's like Next.js for agents, so that's pretty funny. And yeah, it feels like Abhi and I obviously were at Gatsby before this, so we were up against them in the past with different React-based frameworks, and now it feels like what's old is new again.
Here we go again.
It's like another day. Yeah. The battle is upon us again. So.
I will swear Mastra is not the Gatsby for agents.
Mastra is not the Gatsby of agents.
Mastra is the Mastra for agents.
Yeah, it is. It is. But more being shipped around, just really improving developer experience. And so Codex, you can show a workflow once and you can reuse it as a skill. So replay lets you do a recurring task. You turn that into a skill. It's kind of like, in some ways, like dynamic workflows of sorts, that you can have a dynamic workflow in Claude Code, save that workflow, run it again. It's very, so a lot of these different primitives start to like overlap quite a bit.
Yeah.
Claude announced or introduced Claude Tag, a new way for teams to work with Claude. So in Slack, Claude joins as a team member with access to the channels and tools you choose. Tag Claude in and delegate tasks to it while you focus on other work. I think for us internally, we've been using a ton of Mastra built agents in Slack. I think Slack is an interface that's going to be very popular for agents because it's where your team communicates. So especially for internal agents that are meant to assist or help team members, you probably just want those in Slack or in Teams. We've talked about this before. Replic's doing it as well. So Replic's now inside Slack HQ. So tell Slackbot what you want to build, and it'll pull in Replit to make it happen straight from the conversation. So you can, build using Replit right in Slack, as well as tagging in Claude now. So Slack is going to be the interface for agents for a lot of teams, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It is for our team. One of the interfaces. There'll be multiple, but that'll be one of them. Dude, you see this?
Yeah, dude.
What? All right.
Oh,
I feel like maybe we should just watch this video, because it is. Yeah. If you didn't see this, so to set the stage, if you're listening and not watching, Midjourney, the company that you would prompt in Discord and get an image back, right? Like that was Midjourney. That was my experience with Midjourney. I know they've improved. I think there's a web UI now, but you go to Discord, you prompt, you get an image. That was Midjourney, but not anymore. So Midjourney Medical, and let me share my screen here. And we won't watch this whole thing. All right, I skipped through some of it because, you kind of get the idea. I watched this and I didn't know. I was like, what is this?
I thought it was like the Alien movie where it's like super high tech.
Yeah, I didn't understand what it was. And then I did a little digging. And essentially, so Midjourney Medical is working on this scanner, this full body scanner that uses like liquid and I don't know, some other technology, right, to image your body and to determine if you might have tumors or some kind of like abnormalities and detect it early.
Yeah, like a CT scan.
Basically like a full scan of your body for like health and medical issues. And they're going to be putting these devices in spas, so like higher end spas, where you can go in and just get a routine scan. And I don't remember what it takes, like a minute or something. It's like super fast. You just go in, you get a scan, and they want to have some ridiculous amount of like 10,000 of these or 1,000 of these over the next
In
few
San
years.
Francisco, 2027.
Yeah, in San Francisco, so you can just go in and get a scan.
24/7 too.
Yeah,
available.
It's just wild. So I don't know how far along they are with the technology, but they must think they know how to make it work. They must have signs that, okay, this is working. It can detect, potential problems that you might not even be aware of. And it does kind of, because it should really over time drive the cost of getting scans like this down. I've heard people say, if this works, these will be available kind of all over. Your local spa, your local, chiropractor, whatever. You just, your local doctor, you can go in and get a scan for super cheap. But yeah,
I worry that it's a rug pull, but I guess when it comes, maybe Shane and I will go get a scan. We'll let you guys know.
Hashim says Theranos 5s, but that's a good idea, dude. When it's available, we're doing a live stream from the outside scanner.
Yeah.
I was going in. All right. Yeah, that's deal. That's happening. We're going to go get a scan. Did you see this one?
Yeah.
All right. So introducing Sakana Fugu. Fugu? I don't know. Fugu, a full multi-agent orchestration system accessible via a single model API. So our Fugu Ultra model matches the performance of Fable and Mythos, delivering frontier capability without the risk of export controls. So essentially what it does is it's essentially a router between a whole bunch of different models for different types of tasks. So it's like an orchestration API on top of all the existing frontier models that are available.
Yep. You can use 5.5, Opus, Gemini, and you have like all of them available to you. But it itself is closed, right? So closed API using closed models. But this is seeming to be a trend, right? OpenRouter did something very similar.
Factory released their apparently a router that could save costs and because it routes to different models based on the types of intelligence you need for that task.
Yeah.
So I think this idea where you're going to have one model that does everything might not be true. What we're probably going to realize is certain models are good at certain types of tasks. And if you can codify those types of tasks and route those tasks to the right models, well, then you might be not just paying for Claude. Maybe you'll pay for Claude for this specific kind of coding task, but this other kind of customer service task goes to GLM, and this other task goes to OpenAI. So I wouldn't be surprised if over time you see tools to really route between different models based on workloads, or have multi-agent systems that use different models under the hood depending on tasks. I mean, we're already seeing it, but I think it's going to become more prevalent.
Yeah. The only downside with this is how you benchmark it, because obviously it destroys all the benchmarks, like in a good way. Like it beats all the benchmarks. It's highly effective. But isn't that obvious that it's gonna use the model that scored the best, or
Yeah, it's like, if it found that, okay, this model can solve these tasks, well, if it gets asked a task like that, go to this model. And so it really is a little bit of benchmark maxing of sorts, in that it's going to send based on the way the benchmarks really modeled that this task, or that this model performed on these tasks. So yeah, I mean, if the benchmarks are truly real world examples, then that's a good thing. But I think we all know that they're not always the case. We kind of talked about it earlier on the show. If you're watching with Dex, like even the coding benchmarks are very much, can it do this one task and pass a test, which doesn't necessarily prove that it can actually write code over long time horizons and improve your, because it's just not what the benchmark is measuring. So I think that's the challenge with some of these things. But I do think on a small scale, I think that teams are going to own this routing themselves. Rather than use a single API, I think they're going to say, here are the types of tasks that my system needs to handle. I will benchmark and do some basic evals with some different models. And then I will route the types of tasks to these different agents with these different models based on the tasks that come in. So you could build an agent. You could basically build your own API that does this like light routing layer to either different agents or the same agent with a different model, behind it.
I think there's going to be like a lot of similar products coming out in this space, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's it. That's the show. If you have not already, go find Abhi Aiyer on X. Give Abhi Aiyer a follow. Give SM Thomas 3, that's me, a follow on X. Go find Mastra on X. Give us a follow. And if you haven't given us a like on or a star on GitHub, we do appreciate that too. Any parting words before you go and keep sweating? It's getting dark there. Hopefully it's getting a little cooler.
Yeah, it's like 10:41 and it's finally getting dark. Yeah, just want to thank everyone for their patience and support for the supply chain attack. I'm glad we were able to talk about it today. We obviously take this very seriously, but we're okay with criticizing ourselves and stuff like that. So appreciate everyone's support, and stay safe out there.
Yeah, and of course, our learnings from this are that we had a lot of security precautions in place, but clearly we still had some gaps, and I think this highlighted some of those gaps, has us also reevaluating what other gaps might exist, so that we can be better prepared, because the hackers are getting more sophisticated. The tools are allowing them to be better, spread a wider net, make things that are more sophisticated. Yeah. The human aspect is still usually the weakest point, right? And so it's easier to trick a human when you have all the tools on your side. And we can block 99, as Ismail said in the beginning segment. We're at the providers are at the disadvantage and the hackers are at the advantage, right? Because they can make hundreds of different attempts and you could block 99% of them, but the one that gets through could really screw you and your customers and your users. And so it's a battle we'll be fighting for a long time, and others in the space are also fighting every day. I think we've seen it. I don't know how many times half a dozen times we've talked about different supply chain attacks. So it is still prevalent. I think the tools need to keep getting better, because the hackers are getting better tools as well.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this week to Agents Hour. We will be back next week on Monday, doing the same thing we do every week. We'll see you then.
Peace.
Yeah. Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI Agents Hour with Shane and Abhi on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The Mastra.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we are all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour's done, but the news doesn't cease. Shane and Abhi, we out of here. Peace.